Hello, my name's Jasmine, as Margaret said. This is my second year at Virginia Tech, and I am studying biology. So, academics, pretty important, I will say. I got introduced to NLCF during Welcome Week last year, and I've been coming since. I spent the last 9 weeks at a program called Leadership Training, or LT. To put it short, it is a program where you learn how to be a leader and grow in your ability to serve like Jesus with others. That is a very broad description of LT, but I'm sure you guys are going to hear much more about it in the coming weeks and months. Okay. Going into LT, I was very unsure about what my summer would be. I felt called to go to LT, but going was a huge step of faith for me. I was just hopeful that God would meet me in some way, and boy, he definitely did. At LT, I encountered so much love from God and his people. Through the speakers and the amazing people around me, I noticed God doing a work in me. Looking back, I can see that God was teaching me how important community is, especially a community that knows you. I think being known by people around me has always felt a little scary. Vulnerability often feels like opening myself up to getting hurt. Prior to LT, the cost of true community always felt greater than the possible benefits. However, at LT, I learned that being known can also open the door to so much joy and delight. I think the best example of this was my small group. I had the privilege to lead a group of girls every week in intentional conversation and questions. I got to know them very well, but I was also able to be known by them. At the beginning of the summer, I felt led by the Spirit to be vulnerable in small group and share things that felt scary to share. And I'm so grateful that I was obedient to that prompting, because it allowed the other girls in small group to feel safe to share freely. It allowed us to grow so much closer than I ever could have hoped. Small group was definitely a highlight of my summer, and it was such a delight to know my small group and be known by them. Throughout the summer, I found myself being more and more willing to share the work God was doing in me or just the things that were going on in my head. I began to realize that the community around me, sorry. Okay. I began to realize that the community God has blessed me with truly cares about me and wants to know me. Through the people around me, I started to see that walking through things with me and knowing me deeply isn't a burden. It is actually something they want to do. And this encouraged me to keep on being vulnerable with my community. Being known by the people around me has allowed me so much freedom because I no longer have to keep everything inside. My willingness to show up in community has also impacted how I show up with God. The way I'm cared for by his church is only a glimpse for how much I'm cared for by Jesus. He truly desires to know every part of me and of each of you. Throughout LT, I saw that God truly is the safest person to be known by. There is no part of me that could ever make him turn away from me. His love for me is far too great for that. I found myself becoming more willing to come to God with any and everything, even negative feelings or things that I want to hide. Coming to Jesus with these things has allowed me to understand his character even more. At LT, I started to truly understand that God has so much grace for me, more than I could ever understand. I found so much joy and freedom in this fact. How you show up with God and the church impacts how you show up with those outside the church. A big part of LT is learning how to love those around you well and share the gospel with them. And I think 1 Thessalonians 2:8 explains how to do this very well. Because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. Sharing your lives with those around you means allowing them to enter into the things going on in your day-to-day. For me, it means going out of my way to include and invite the people around me, even if it feels uncomfortable. This is so important because it's very much how God cares for each of us. He is constantly inviting us to know him more and to participate in the work he is doing here on earth. In fact, God invites us to know him forever through the life and death of Jesus. Through the sharing of our lives, God's love and care for those around us is made evident to those around us. My summer at LT was definitely very impactful for me. I think it truly changed how I show up in every area of my life. And I'm so grateful for the ways God met me this summer and the fact that he isn't done. When we're willing to fully show up in the spaces we're in, this is when God can do his wondrous work. That was most definitely my experience at leadership training. I've experienced so much of God's goodness and character through allowing myself to be known by community. Because of this, I want to encourage each of you to go fully in with community. Be willing to do things that feel scary. Be willing to show up fully in the new relationships that you're creating here. You never truly know how God will work through these relationships. What part of his character may be revealed to you through them? My name is Jasmine, and this is my snapshot.